Boobustology was your book.
Yep.
We talked about the man who sees bubbles everywhere.
Yep.
Some of these bubbles, are they deflating or is it getting worse?
Oh, no, I think they're in the process of deflating. We have, and I think actually, Jeff, it all started with the China investment bubble that has burst. And that brought with it commodities, and that pushed deflation around the world. And that's, those ripples are landing on the shores of countries literally everywhere. I mean, we've got bubbles bursting in, I would argue, Australian housing markets starting to crack, South Africa, the whole economy, Canada, housing and the economy, Brazil, we can keep going on and on.
The price action in markets, though, is masking, I think, some of that underlying story that you're telling, because we have a strong recovery for the Asian markets. We've seen the commodities sector rebuild some of the losses in the last 6 weeks or so.
Sure.
There is a desire, I think, among the bulls to believe that the worst is over and we can reset, reprice, and move forward from here. Is that an accurate assessment of what's possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the hope, but that's all being pinned on cheap money and sort of this overly accommodative monetary stance. And so I think what we need to do is actually stop. And I think if you normalize the cost of money, if you normalize liquidity conditions, and I'm not even sure I know what normal is anymore, but if you got towards something that was less accommodative, where would asset prices fall out? And I don't think they would stay here.
Talk to me a little bit about normalizing the liquidity situation, at least when we're talking about it within the context of the Middle East and the Gulf states in particular. There was a report out earlier today talking about the Saudis looking for a $10 billion loan, looking to international lenders for that loan. Now, I made a few calls this morning, and not too many people were that worried. I mean, they're saying their debt to GDP ratio is, pretty good considering everything. But at the same point, I mean, how worried are you about liquidity in the region? How worried are you about the banks?
Look, this is a part of the world that has never, ever, at least, in the 25 plus years I've been watching it closely, had to worry about liquidity. This is new. And yes, it's actually rippling through the economies here. And you're seeing it in subtle ways. So, Adley, you're seeing, for instance, government contractors that are doing business with the government are getting paid slower. Interesting. That's rippling through, and those contractors are not able to pay their subcontractors on time.
Absolutely, and you're seeing it reflected in the stock markets as well, because you have to remember that so many of the stocks that are on these indices in the region are construction stocks and related to infrastructure development, correct? And that was all related back to the oil prices.
Yep. No, and the government budgets here are 75, 80% attached to the oil price of oil. I mean, de facto.